everything. And so, and then I want to have time for y'all to have questions. If y'all have questions at the end, that y'all be able to do that. So, this is the Dynamic Authors Group VIP Book Club. It's our virtual book club since we can't get out and do our book signings and things like that with people. So we just decided, well, maybe we could just do it virtually and until we can get back on the street. So every Tuesday night, we will be on at the same time. If you're on the Eastern Standard, it's going to be 9 o'clock. If you're Central Standard, it's going to be 8 o'clock. Mountain, I guess, would then be 7, and then Pacific would be 6. If you're in a wonderful place like Hawaii, like Linda and Bobo and Nick are, they're about 5 hours different. So it's afternoon, I think, for them, isn't it? 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. Okay. So great. But just know that we're going to get on at this time every week, every Tuesday, and we'll have a different author reading their works. And so we hope that you'll join us. We hope you'll share that with other people too. So tonight, I'm very excited. I'm very delighted to be having Hester Johnson Moore, and Hester's going to be reading from her book that she's re-releasing, her second edition next week, called 16 and 68, My Story. And we're releasing next week in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So Hester, tell us a little
Thank
bit
you.
about your story, your background, and then read something from your book for us,
All
please.
right, thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to be able to read today and inviting and open it up to anyone that want to come and see what you're doing. Uh, I thank God for you and the group itself. My book, 16 and 68, is about being 16, turning 16 years old. Very excited about turning 16. But at some point, there was something very, very serious going on in Memphis, Tennessee. 1,300 black men, 1,300 black men walked off their jobs for better pay, fair treatment, and just to be treated as a man. And they were from all over the city. Now, it is really amazing how a little thing can turn out to a big thing. And so when you ask me to read, I was looking through the book and I said, you know what? Let me give them a starting point. So that's the starting point, what was going on in Memphis then. For me, it was just a giddy girl, chasing boys and getting ready for 16 because now I can have company at my house and possibly learn how to drive. Now, that was very important for me, but this is the beginning of it. From my book, 16 and 68, we played the porch game. And who's going to speak to the next person that turned that corner? Well, the game went like this. If you were on the porch, which my porch, at my mother's home, we didn't have much to do because even at 15 and 16, you could not leave that porch unless you got permission. It was my turn to speak to the next person rounding that corner. We saw someone rounding that corner, and he looked so distraught. His shoulders were bent, his head was bowed, and we knew that it was Mr. McGee. I spoke to Mr. McGee. Hey, Mr. McGee. He didn't say anything. I turned to my sisters and said, I wonder what's wrong with him. Because to us, the sanitation strike didn't mean anything in terms of what we were doing and entertaining ourselves. So we said it loudly. Hey, Mr. McGee. He looked over, he tilted his hat, and he walked on. I felt so bad for him because then we began to talk about why he was looking the way he was looking. These men were on strike, making about dollar 25 cents an hour. They had family to feed. So it went from there. And then for me, in my mind, wanted to do something to help. But I had this little thing going for myself. I used to say, let the grown people handle grown people business. But deep down in my heart, I really wanted to what is it that I can do to help? I didn't think I could do anything. But Dr. King sent word to Memphis that he wanted more young people to participate in something that was going to affect their future. So, from the book, George Hunt, which was an art teacher at my school, and a Miss Davis was standing in the hallway. I saw them talking. I didn't think anything about it. They called me over and said to me, or asked me, would you like to participate in the 1968 march that's going on, boycott that's going on downtown? Well, back then you didn't turn the teacher down, but I didn't know what they, were getting at. She said to me that Dr. King, as I said, Dr. King want more people to participate. Mr. Hunt then said, well, if you participate, you're going to have to go through a nonviolent training, and it's going to be held at Claiborne Temple. Again, I said to myself, what in the world is they asking me to do? But then I said, why not? And then I said, yes, before I even know what I was saying yes to. So Mr. Hunt went on to say, now, the thing is, you definitely have to attend training at Claiborne Temple before anyone could participate. Dr. King also said he did not want any young people to go and picket nor get ready for the big march with him on March 28th unless they go through a nonviolent training. So, as I move on here, my first encounter, and see, I can memorize this stuff. My first encounter, when they gave us the signs and we got ready to go downtown, we had, all the training we need, keeping your eyes on the prize. You may have heard the song. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. See, the prize was that if we can come and picket, boycott, we had to keep our eyes on the message. We had to stay focused. 14, 15, 16 years old, we had to stay focused. So we were down by a store called Three Sisters. And as we were about to turn this tight corner, I saw this elderly white woman, about 80 something years old. She was huffing and puffing. And then she folded her arms and had this look on her face. Y'all need to just go home. Go home. I looked at her. I looked at her like I would look at any elderly person. My mother's always said respect. Now, I'm the older person now, but back then, this older woman, she didn't know. And again, in my mind and with the training, keeping our eyes on the prize, I looked at her. I remember saying that I felt sorry for her because in her mind, she was thinking, if I get out here and harass them, we already been trained, to look for the agitators, but we had to look forward. We had to keep our eyes on the prize. And with that being said, when she called me the N word, I actually felt sorry for her because then there was another song that came to mind. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom lane. And I'm gonna close it with that because no matter what, we had to keep walking. Could not let anyone turn us around. No words could make me stop doing what I was doing. So I thank you all for listening.
Oh, thank
Wow.
you. Right. So good. So does anybody have a question? If you want to just go ahead and unmute yourself, since we've got a smaller group, I don't mind y'all just asking the question direct. And once we get a bigger group in, we'll probably, take the question and let who's
I got
ever
a question.
hosting do that. Yeah.
Question is, which year this thing happened?
1968.
Night. Oh,
That was the 1668. She was 16 in
the what?
68. She was 16 in 68. So that's the name of the
Oh,
book.
you still look good.
Thank you
With that,
so
I
much.
tell you the
I
no,
need
that
to
was
talk to the
interesting.
two of
That
you
I
all
like the
anyway.
story.
Thank you so much.
You have beautiful voice to singing too.
Thank you, sir. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and so the sad thing is you actually you marched. Y'all did have one march, didn't you? And that was the march that kind of fell into chaos because other folks came out, but they hadn't been trained.
Well, it was a mixture of young people and older people, but mostly older, and they were mostly men. Um, we were there to represent the youth, but all the youth were not really in tune to what was actually going on. They was down there to have fun and to cause ruckus, as my mother have said.
See,
So
yeah,
with that, it was very sad for me because Dr. King was in the march. He was there. And that's who we were waiting on. We were waiting for him to show up. And with all the training, we sing and you walk. You don't stop and talk. You don't walk and talk. You either singing or you're not saying anything at all. Because one of the things, or some of the things too, that you had to be focused. You had to be focused. And you have to really inside know what you're there for. I wasn't there to be having a conversation with anyone. I wasn't there to start trouble. I was there focusing on the fact that these men need to be treated like men, and we were marching to City Hall. We never made it.
right, right.
And
And then
eventually, when the glass breaking and the tear gas,
Oh my.
wow, no matter how many years it's been, it's
yeah,
very emotional for me once I start talking about it. But I say to young people, and I'll say to you, if you ever, I don't know whether any of you all ever been in a situation that you just knew without a doubt that you were going to die. That was the day that I knew that I was going to die because we were hemmed up after they had the riots. We ran back to the church and we barricaded from the inside. And after about 15, 20 minutes, we heard over a bullhorn, we giving y'all 15 minutes to come out with your hands up. I've never been in a situation like that. Now they've given us 15 minutes. What does that mean to a 16-year-old? They're gonna come here and blast anything that moves. And let me tell you, I don't know whether any of you have had a gun pointed at you. I mean, almost barrel to nose. When we came out with our hands up, those guns with those bayonets were pointing at our chest and very close to us. And we couldn't make a sudden move. Now, I can't even imagine. Um, I couldn't imagine being in a predicament like that, and it has had a long lasting effect on me. Not as hard at first because it took me 30 years just to talk about it.
yeah, for sure. So thanks for sharing. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you. And interesting, the book only came when I moved back to Memphis and started attending the community college. I had a professor, they were getting ready for the 30-year, well, we'll call it a
Anniversary.
celebration of Dr. King's death. And I quietly said to him that I had participated, but I don't like to talk about it. He said, why? I said, because it's too hurtful. He said, well, if you don't want to talk about it, let's write about it. And I said, what am I going to write about? He said, just tell your story. And it was just amazing that that was 97. The book didn't come out to 2017. It's just that when you began to uh, go into those emotions, you really don't want to visit those emotions, but you have to visit those emotions because in order for my story to be told, I have to visit those emotions.
Right.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yes.
Um, You know, you said that you wrote about it. The book didn't come till later, but did you tell them that you did do a play, an enactment of one woman play? Did you talk about that before I came on?
No,
Did you
I
tell
did not. I did not. And you know, it's really interesting for me personally. Others see what I do, but for me, I just do it and I go home. So oftentimes I don't mention, well, I did this, you know, because I have written and I've included students with 16 and 68. And it works for me because there I am again, looking at them. So not only the book, and actually, as Carolyn say, the stage production of it, in a sense, came way before the book. You know, I would say, okay, I can do this, and I want this, and I want this. I was part of the Memphis Art Council as a teaching artist, and in order for the teachers to order my performance, you had to do like an audition performance. And so then once that was done and they accepted you, they would put you in a catalog. And so the teachers had a choice. Carolyn, she does poetry. So if Carolyn was in the catalog, they can order her performance. She would have her fee and, you know, tell her ins and out of it. So yes, I have just talked about it, but it's so interesting. I didn't think adults would be interesting in what I was saying until I did it here in Louisville. Mostly I performed for students, but in Louisville, I saw myself sitting on stage. And I said, my stories, my stories, my stories to whoever, anyone that want to hear it. And it's interesting in 2020, even with the Harriet Tubman that I do, I said, sometimes I feel like presenting her, and some days I feel like telling her story. And that may not make sense, but it
Oh, isn't
makes
that
sense to
interesting?
me.
No, that's very interesting that you
I want to tell her story. I don't want to be her story. And so when I was in Minneapolis last year for a whole week doing Harriet Tubman, I said, oh my God, this is what you want? Okay, this is what you're going to get. But they had it set up for me. They had people picking me up and all that. But some days I don't feel like, with her, I don't feel like putting the slave clothes on. I want to tell her story after she was free. Some days, and it's interesting, you know, that kind of came in my mindset.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, and like you say too, for you, it's like you say, it's still hard, and it is hard if you're writing memoir or biography or, you know, to tell those, you know, your story because, like you say, it's still painful, and there's joy in that, and there's sorrow in that too, and the revisiting of those sad times are hard, you
But
know.
the beauty of it is, as Carolyn knew about, because I had her to work on something 52 years later with the George Floyd and all that. Uh, I mentioned that there was one sign that really got to me in a very upsetting way. As a young lady had a sign, we are not our grandmothers. We will mess you up. In other words, she's saying, you hit me, I hit you. Well, guess what? You're having a nonviolent training. Now, if somebody come directly and just hit you, you're hoping somebody to be there to prevent it. But that lady spat at me. I didn't feel it. It didn't come up to retaliate. It just didn't. But getting back to her saying that, I said to my niece, well, it was the grandparents that was doing what they had to do for you to have what you have right now. Better cars, better homes, integration. So don't dismiss me because we weren't out there fist fighting and throwing Molotov cocktails. You know, some of them were, but don't make me feel like we were just, you know, dragging our feet and you know, just taking all this stuff. But it was a mindset when I went through that nonviolent training. It's like being focused, and that's with anything. Stay focused. Keep your eyes on the prize. Know what that prize is. and keep your eyes on it.
That's great. That's great.
I
Well,
didn't mean
thanks,
to
Esther.
preach,
Thanks so
Carolyn.
much for sharing. I mean, we'll stay as long as everybody wants to stay. We kind of said 8 to 8:30, but it's you know, it's just so interesting to hear people's stories, and we thank you for sharing because we know
Thank
that,
you.
you know, some of it's not easy to share, but we need to hear it. We need to keep telling our stories, and we need to hear our different stories because, and we don't want to forget. We don't want to
And
forget
we
our ancestors.
shouldn't forget.
Yeah, for sure. And for Bobo, basically, Dr. King was killed. What, about 4 days later? Was assassinated.
The march took place on March 28th, and
Hey,
April the 4th, he was
April of
assassinated.
4, so about 6 or 7 days. But and then
Yeah,
so
but
they
well,
never
what
had.
happened? He came back. He had to, when that march fell apart, he promised to come back
Okay,
because his intention was to lead a peaceful march.
March.
And so when he came back, that's when he was when he was killed.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great, great. Because we've got some folks, you know, that are from other places, like uh, Mr. Nichovich is, you know, he came here in his 20s. So he's, you know, he's heard probably some of the stories and he knows who we're talking about, but, you know, maybe not exactly in
Right, the
all the details.
Well,
details.
he came here in 1970,
Oh, okay.
so just
Wow.
after that. So
Wow, okay.
I
Yeah.
think, in my opinion, is if Dr. King is still alive, he'd probably be very angry to see what happened in that country. This is a beautiful country, and he believed in this country and the people, but our politicians try to destroy it. And I said, and I gonna keep telling you that the younger generation gotta stand up, say, hey, enough is enough. Let's leave this country way how it is built with the constitution and love one for another. When I growing up in Montenegro and Yugoslavia at that time, we are not allowed to have hatred towards anybody. Doesn't matter if it's a black, white, green, purple color, that don't exist. If you do anything like that, you go 15 years in prison without hesitation. 15 years. No, nobody can protect you. So that's why right now they have a lot of problems. They got inmarital problems with the Muslims, Christians, married and stuff like that. When I was a young, 10, maybe 12 years old, group from Congo, uh, a prime minister was a Patrick Lumumba, something like that. It's a beautiful young man, and the country was President Tito brought a guy, young black people, to teach them Air Force and stuff like that. We inter, we been with them like the brothers. We didn't look the colors like a skin. We look them as people. They're funny. We play soccer. We enjoy them. But when I came in this country, I see how so much hatred because of the color. Why is the color so important? Let it go be. If you got a beautiful heart, let them be. Enjoy the heart, helping one another. As the Bible is saying, teach and help one another.
Well, that's well said. Thank you so
very
much.
good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was beautiful, Hester.
Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate it.
It
Yeah.
was
We
beautiful.
we got to push for that one woman show again. We got to work that out. So the minute we can get on the streets.
Well, the deal is I've just got a call 2 days ago, and I got to get back with her Friday. I'm going to do something for Black History, and we're going to work something out virtual, and then something face to face. But I mean, we can't touch. I will have to wear a mask. They will have to wear a mask. And I just see the mask as being such a barrier, but we have to be careful. So I told her, and Carolyn, I'll be getting with you. I really want to work up something that I can do virtual. Like I said to her, the teacher, I said, I can see it. I can see just like what I'm doing with you all. Why can't I just, just someone introduce me and I tell my story? Possibly have some graphics or some video, spots in there. So Liz, you got that PR marketing brain of yours, think of some things too.
Right.
But
Yeah, for sure. Well, this was great. I mean, even this was fabulous, don't y'all think?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah, loved it.
yes, I think she did a great
Look
job.
at
Yes,
here.
thank you.
Yeah.
Good example for us.
So,
And
because you,
I still want to do the voiceover for his book. So he can
that's
call
right.
me before I'm hired.
We'll be chatting. Yeah, we'll be chatting about that too in the next couple of weeks, Josh, if you got some time.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Are you teaching online? Are you virtual teaching or?
I am teaching online, yes. Two of my classes got canceled, but I am still teaching at Richland, and they're all virtual.
Okay,
So yeah,
it's good seeing you.
yes, it's great seeing you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we thank y'all very much for attending. So this has been the Dynamic Author Group VIP Book Club, and we do this every Tuesday night. And next week we will have Bobo Nixke on, and he's going to be reading The Moon with a Crooked Smile, which is a children's book. So we hope y'all will come back next week. We hope you'll share the links with your friends and family, and that we can grow this group every week and have more and more people join us. So thanks so much for coming out tonight, giving us some of your time. And Hester, thank you so much. We'll have the recording, and then I'll make a copy of that and send that to you as well. So you'll have that for any of your promotional pieces, or maybe you can pull some clips from that and play that too. Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
so
Nice
much.
meeting you guys. It's
And
wonderful.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.